Hi there. Thanks for joining me for this video lecture on 19th century music. In the lecture today, we're going to be wrapping up our unit on 19th century culture in general by examining the ways in which the music scene's development parallels that of movements that were taking place in the realms of philosophy, visual arts, literature, which we've already studied this unit. We're going to find ourselves very familiar with the general themes that will be accompanying the emergence of new musical styles over the course of the century. For instance, when we listen to musical compositions from the early 19th century, we're going to hear the emotion and the drama that comprise these compositions. We're going to learn about the ways in which they were breaking free from traditions of the past, just as romantic artists and writers were doing. When we get to the mid-century point, we'll hear some examples of music that strove to incorporate the folk musical traditions of the masses, of the average man, in a manner similar to that of the realists, again in painting and literature. And by the end of the century, we'll be hearing a more dark and depressive tone underlying a great deal of the music that we'll listen to. We will hear a reflection of the anxiety of the age, which we have already seen in the fin de siècle visual arts that we've been studying over the course of the last week. So we will really see parallels in the development of the musical scene to that of the development of culture in general that we've been examining over the course of this first unit of the semester. Before we jump into our discussion of 19th century music, I thought I should just briefly go over with you some of the terminology related to the study of music, which is used in your text and which we'll employ today as we analyze the various musical pieces that we'll listen to. Just like in the visual arts, there are formal elements of design or ingredients that comprise the total work of art that we will be examining. In music, there are four main elements: melody, harmony, rhythm, and dynamics, that help compose a composition and give it a certain mood or quality of sound. Melody is the easiest thing for us to pick out. It is technically defined as a succession of notes that form a distinctive sequence. When we listen to pop music, for example, it's that sort of repetitious, catchy arrangement of notes that runs throughout a song, what you would hum if you were trying to get someone to sort of name that tune. Harmony refers to the relationship of notes and chords as they're being played on one or more instruments. The overlap of sounds can either be pleasing or not. In this particular example, we hear multiple singers overlapping each other, singing in different pitches to create harmony.
Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Looking for water, easy see something Charlie. Little group of guys got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling phone. Okay, look to the one flag and play for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I can't too deep. Tell me your piece of the seats for them, please. Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow me.
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven. Follow the Lord on 24/7 days. God is who we praise, even though the devil's all up in my face, but he keeping me safe and in my place. Say grace to the gates we race, without a change to face the judge, and it blesses my soul with books. Grudge because there's no mercy for thugs. Ooh, what can I do? It's all about the family and how we grow. Can I get a witness? Let it unfold. We live in our lives to eternal our soul. Hey, oh, hey.
And we're praying, we're praying, we're praying, we're praying. Every day, every day, every day, every day. And we're praying, we're praying, we're praying, we're praying. Still with laces. Now follow me, Rosto. Whether it's tell or it's Saturday. Let's go take a visit to the people that's long gone there. While ladies and terrible. Instead of keeping up with family. Exactly how many days we got lasting? While you laughing, we're passing the way. Rest our souls, 'cause I know I'ma meet you up at the crossroad. Y'all know if I ever got love with them both thugs, baby.
Long gone, really wish you could come home. But when they tell her that I gotta go bye-bye, all the little thug could do was cry. Why they kill my dog? Yeah, man, I miss my Uncle Charles, y'all. And he shouldn't be gone in front of his home. When they did, the root was wrong. Who's so wrong? Got to hold on, gotta stay strong when it did come. on. Better believe on, got a shoulder you can lean on. Lean on.
And we pray, and we pray, and we pray, and we pray. Every day, every day, every day, every day. And we pray, and we pray, and we pray, and we pray. Every day. See you at the crossroads, crossroads. See you at the crossroads, crossroads. See you at the crossroads, crossroads. See you at the crossroads, crossroads.
And I'm gonna miss everybody, and I'm gonna miss everybody. And I'm gonna miss everybody, and I'm gonna miss everybody, and I'm gonna miss everybody.
Rhythm is musical time. It is flow. It refers to the beat in music, which is measured out in meter and also influenced by the tempo or the pace at which the music is played, slow or fast. Tempo is part of the dynamics of music, which is a slightly more abstract term referring to the expressive aspects of a musical performance. How loud or how softly the music should be played when it's being played live, what speed it should be played at. These dynamics can help control the reception of the music by the audience, how it's perceived emotionally, as sad or lively, bold or gentle. We're all probably familiar with Lady Gaga's song Poker Face, right? I have a different version to play for you in which she has changed up the dynamics of the song, slowing it down considerably. See how this affects the mood of the song.
I wanna hold 'em like they do in Texas, please. Fold 'em, let 'em hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Love game, intuition, play the cards with spades to start. And after he's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on his heart. Oh, I'll get him hot, show him what I've got. Oh, I'll get him hot, show him what I've got. Carried my, no, he can't read my poker face. He's got me like nobody. Carried my, no, he can't read my poker face. She's got me like nobody. Poker face, poker face. Oh, that's good. Poker face, poker face. I wanna roll with him, a hot pair we will be. A little gambling is fun when you're with me. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. And baby, when it's love, if it's not rough, it isn't fun. Oh, I'll get him hot, show him what I've got. I want you to know. I'll get him hot, show him what I've got. Carried my, no, he can't read my poker face. He's got me like nobody. Carried my, no, he can't read my poker face.
Definitely a different version of the song than we're used to, right? We can hear how Lady Gaga has changed up the dynamics of Poker Face, slowing it down considerably, making it seem sadder, maybe more introspective, definitely changing its emotional quality. This interest in the emotional potential of music was very key to the development of the genre in the 19th century as Romanticism swept over Europe and the US. The movement of Romanticism, which we studied way back at the beginning of the semester, had a musical component to it as well, which we haven't examined so far in this class. We will find, as we are talking about Romantic music, that it very much reflected the overall goals of the movement in general. If we are able to think back, what is it that the Romantics are interested in doing? What is their movement all about? They are rebelling against the social order, right? The logic and the reason and the rationality of the Enlightenment era, neoclassical art's coldness and balance and simplicity. We see the Romantics embracing instead emotion and passion, this, in their minds, equally important aspect of the human condition. They are very individualistic, and so we will see a great deal of diversity in terms of Romantic music, but all of it is striving to increase the emotional expressionism of music in general, describing through sound very profound concepts, emotional concepts like love, hate, death, and spirituality. In terms of structure, such music broke many of the rules, or at least pushed the boundaries of what was considered well-composed music in previous time periods. I think to get a sense of what really stands out about Romantic music, it's important to get a sense of what it was rebelling against. Before the 19th century, music, both sacred and secular forms, had been largely unchanged since the early 1600s. All of the non-electronic instruments of a modern-day orchestra, such as woodwinds, like the flute or oboe, stringed instruments like violin and cello, rhythm instruments like the bass drum and xylophone, these were all invented and in full use by then. For a couple of centuries, musicians had been utilizing these instruments to create compositions that followed a prescribed form. For example, to write a symphony or a sonata, and in a shared style. The predominant style of this era was a very melodic one. The composer would essentially design one melody, a harmonious succession of notes in a pattern, that could be repeated with little tweaks and modifications throughout the entire musical work. There would be one main rhythm per movement, so basically 15 minutes or so of unbroken rhythm, and the music was very tonal. That is, entire symphonies were organized around a single pitch. Here's a little excerpt from an 18th century piano concerto by Mozart to get us all on the same page as to what this sort of music would sound like. So soothing, right? So calm. It's the perfect background music. That melody is instantly recognizable. The do 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 do, right? That you hear repeated over and over again, just somewhat modified throughout. There is really no change up in the tempo, in the dynamics of the music. There's no change in the loudness or the softness. It's essentially extremely predictable music.